Hello YouTube. This video today is about replacing a radiator on a 2008 BMW 328i. The radiator started leaking coolant out of the left tank. So these radiators, as far as I know, are not serviceable, so you got to replace them. So another thing that on this video I'm going to show is on the upper radiator hose, you're going to see that I reused the hose. I really don't recommend using the hose, but if you have to, you got to do what you got to do. So I'm going to show you how to change the seals in the upper hose, and also on the lower side there'll be some hoses that'll put new little O-rings on it. So here's the video.
So the first thing you got to do is underneath you got to remove the plastic belly pan. It's held on there by I believe some 8mm bolts. There's probably like, I don't know, 10 or so. Just look around and keep removing them until you can get the pan off, and then just slide it out of the way. Once you get that done, you'll see there's two little brackets. Make sure you remember how they go. And then there'll be another forward plastic shield that you can remove. Now here you can see where the radiator is leaking out of the left tank. This is the culprit. Little bastard. So the first thing, or after you remove the pan, is you need to drain the coolant. So make sure you have your radiator cap off or just loose. And you could just unscrew this here and get a container and just drain the coolant. Now what I'm pointing at here is you undo this bolt to remove the transmission cooler. You're not actually removing it, you're just loosening it and move it out of the way so you can remove the radiator fan. There's a bolt, don't lose it. Next step is you're going to remove the front fresh air snorkel, and then from here you're going to take all the plastic snorkel off the front. Now you're going to remove your air cleaner assembly. So that's held on there by these two 10mm bolts. And also there's going to be a connector on the mass airflow sensor. You can undo that. And then loosen up the clamp for the throttle body snorkel that goes to the air cleaner, and you should be able to remove the air cleaner. Next, unplug your radiator fan plug. You squeeze these two tabs. You'll see right here on the sides, and it just pulled right out. Now the radiator fan is only held on there by one bolt, that one. So you undo that, and then you can start to pull the radiator fan out. once you have that bolt out, on the other side, I'll show you right here, there is no bolt. It's just held on there by a little tab. It slips in place. You just lift back on that tab, and you pull the radiator shroud and everything assembly together. So there you saw me unclip it. However, I screw up here, as you'll see. I try to get it out without removing the upper hose. I think some people can do it, but I just found it too difficult, and I ended up putting it back down and just remove the upper hose. Save you some grief, like I'm going through right there. To remove the upper hose, you'll find some clips. You just lift up on the clips. There'll be one on each end. And the hose is on there pretty hard, especially if it's old. So it could take a little work to remove. Just kind of muscle it and just keep working at it, and eventually you'll remove it. So just remove both ends and also the overflow tube there. Same thing, has one little clip. Just lift it up. And you can kind of like wiggle that fitting there, just kind of back and forth, twisting it, just to loosen it up, and then you'll be able to pull it apart. You can see the hose is kind of a bugger to take out. And like I mentioned earlier, be honest with you, I would just replace the hose. Don't waste your time. Now you'll see the radiator fan just comes out much more simpler. Now at this point, go ahead and undo the rest of your hoses. There's your lower radiator hose, and there'll be another one underneath it. Here's the one on the driver's side. And the radiator is held on there by two little bolts, one on each corner and the top. So you're going to remove those two bolts, and you just remove the radiator the same way you took out the radiator fan. That's all that holds it in place. Now once you have it out, make sure you drain all the coolant out of it. And these two tabs you're going to reuse. So I use a little tool here, or you can use a little screwdriver, and just gently lift up on the plastic tab and slide it back like that. Don't lift too hard on it because you don't want to break these tabs. All you do is just lift it up far enough so you can slide it off. That's what the radiator fan shroud clips into, or you see the two holes for it. So you're going to take these and you're going to transfer them over to your new radiator. Right here. And just pretty much install them the way they were on the old radiator. So make sure you have them all the way in. You'll hear a click when you got them in there correctly. As you see, that one didn't go in all the way. Here's the other side. And you'll hear it click. And you could depress the center of it, and you should feel it give way. So there you go. Now it's installed, and that's it. Now on the radiator, you're going to see the kit, at least mine did, came with two plugs. One is for, I believe, automatic transmissions, and one's for manual transmission. So look and see which one applies to your application and use the appropriate plug. And then here are the O-rings for the upper radiator hose. You can actually get more of these seals if you like. You can order them online. So if you need to replace more, they are available. So here is the upper radiator hose. I'm going to show you how to change that seal. You just get a small little pick and you pry out the old seal. And what I like to do on the new one is I like to put a little lube on the new one. I use like the pool assembly lube for O-rings, for like Leslie's pools. So you just lubricate the O-ring. This will make it easier when you slide it on to the radiator or even the on the engine side, to simplify your life. Now for the small bottom hoses, there's two different size O-rings, so don't get confused. As you can see here, I have the old ones. They're just different in size, so just pay attention as to which one goes where. So here's my new ones. And let's go install these bad boys. This one here gave me a little bit of work, but as you can see, I have to keep adjusting it. Don't be afraid to use the pick to help you put it into the groove it belongs in there. Once you get this done, you are ready to install the radiator. It's that easy. So go ahead and grab your radiator and install it. Now go ahead and get your two bolts that go on the top corners. And you might have to, like, make sure you push back the radiator up against the condenser all the way. Sometimes it takes a little bit of work. And you just put those screws back in. Now at this time, go ahead and connect your lower hoses and then get your radiator fan and start installing it. Now what I'm showing you here, these two little tabs, those go on the tabs on the bottom of the radiator, the ones that you switched from the old radiator. So just take your time and kind of work it way down there carefully without damaging your new radiator. You wouldn't want that to happen. That would be all bad. Now you'll know when you have it seated correctly. You'll hear a audible click. Here I'm looking at the clip we're supposed to snap into. That's the sound. Sound of success. Now go ahead and install the one bolt that holds the radiator fan in place and tighten it down. Now install your upper radiator hose. We're almost there. This is why I like to lube those seals. You can actually lube the other ends of it where it goes onto the engine block too, to help you slide the hose in place. Even with the new one, if you put a little lubricant on it, it really makes it a lot easier to put in place. And you just push them on, and when you get them on there in its correct location, you push the clip back down, and that's all there's to it. So don't forget to also do your overflow tube. And just put the tube in its little clips so the routing's correct, so it's not flopping around. And of course, don't forget to plug in your fan connector. So you just plug that in and then just route the wiring harness in its proper location. Now back underneath, go ahead and position your transmission cooler in its proper location. It has a little tab on the top which you can't see that slides into the plastic housing of the radiator fan shroud. And it uses, notice those are the same bolts that the radiator and the fan also use. These are all the same, so you don't have to worry about it getting mixed up. So you're probably going to have, it's going to be an odd number. You're going to have like two down here, one for this cooler and the other one for the hose that's dangling next to my left hand. And then you're going to have one for the radiator fan shroud and two for the radiator itself. So this is the final hose, just pushes on. And this should be your last bolt that looks like that one. Should not have any left over. If you do, you miss something. Now, as far as coolants are concerned, I see people using all kinds of coolants. I don't give a damn. I'm using the BMW appropriate coolant for this application. This just takes all the guesswork out. Yes, it costs a little more money, but I don't care. So I use the BMW coolant with distilled water, a 50-50 mix. Okay, now we are ready to refill the cooling system. I have an adapter here. This is how I pressure tested the system. It's an adapter that you can use so you can use a manual pump pressure tester. But I also use it to use my quick fill vacuum system, which I'll show you right here. This thing is just a godsend. It makes filling cooling system a breeze, and I'll guarantee you, you're not going to end up with any pockets. Now BMW does have a procedure to fill the cooling system. You're going to have to look that up if you don't have this tool and follow that procedure. But this for me is the quickest and best way. Now I like to get this to about 25 inches of vacuum. You'll see all your hoses start to collapse. That's a good sign. If you can't achieve 25 inches of vacuum, that means you have a leak somewhere. You're going to have to find that leak and repair it. So this thing for me fills the coolant to its proper level. And once you have the coolant filled up, on the tank itself you'll see it has this diagram that shows you where the plunger should be. I'll show you at the end of the video. After this, before you put everything underneath back together, like all your belly pans and stuff, I recommend that you run the engine for a while until you see the fan comes on. Let it cycle a couple of times so it builds up pressure, and that way you can double check the leaks again. Hopefully you won't have any leaks. Do it right the first time. So there, I'm done filling, and I'll show you what it is that you're looking at right here. That little thing right there. It has a little mark on it, and it shows it should be level with the where the cap goes. There's a diagram for it, and that's it. Good luck.